The sewing machine, Washington Monument, and Watergate are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is February 21st, 2022. It is the 52nd day of the year. We got 313 days left. Today is the 8th Monday in the 9th week. And the 63rd day of winter. We got 27 days left until spring. It's finally changed. If today's your birthday, you're a Pisces. Finally got past that Aquarius thing, where I'm going to switch this up soon. Today is National Sticky Bun Day. This is a day that celebrates this gooey pastry that has like frosting just dripping off of it. They're disgusting, but they're delicious. This is actually a German treat. All right. Let's see what else happened on February 21st. 1842, John Greenough is granted the first U.S. patent for the sewing machine. Greenough, I hope that's right. 1862, the American Civil War. The Battle of Alverde is fought near Fort Craig in what was then the New Mexico Territory. Not a lot of people know that the Civil War actually came this far out. I mean, there wasn't a lot of it, but most of it stayed in the South and the Mid-Atlantic area, things like that. But not a lot of people realize it came all the way out to here. 1866, Lucy Hobbs Taylor becomes the first American woman to graduate from dental school. 1874, the Oakland Daily Tribune publishes its first edition. It's still going. Almost 150 years they've been publishing it, 1878, the first telephone directory is issued in New Haven, Connecticut. I don't even remember the last time I saw a telephone book. I haven't had one delivered. You know, they always drop them off at your house. You didn't have to ask for one, but they always drop one off at your house back in the day. Even the small ones. For a while, they were the really huge ones, and then they dropped down to the smaller ones that just had businesses in it, and that kind of went away too. Damn internet, putting telephone book people out of business. 1885, the newly completed Washington Monument is dedicated. That's one of my favorite monuments. The World War II monument's really interesting too, but the Washington Monument, it's just so iconic. 1925, The New Yorker publishes its first issue. It's still going too. I just watched this really interesting thing on Gary Larson, who, if you don't know who he is, he's the guy that did the Far Side cartoons. And they talked about his whole life and all that. Well, he'd gone into retirement for a lot of different reasons. He had enough money that he could. And he said the ideas for strange cartoons were getting harder and harder to come by. He's kind of burnt out, so he just retired. But then he got a call years after he retired, and the New Yorker asked him to do one of their covers, which he jumped at the chance. 1947, in New York City, Edwin Land demonstrates the first instant camera, the Polaroid Land camera. This was at a meeting of what I imagine was a whole bunch of camera or lens nerds, because it was called the Optical Society of America. You know, they had some raging parties. 1975, the Watergate scandal. Former United States Attorney General John N. Mitchell and former White House aides H.R. Hadelman and John Ehrlichman are sentenced to time in the big house. Yeah, they sent these guys to prison for their role in the Watergate scandal. A lot of people don't know what the Watergate thing was all about. They heard about it and they know it has to do with Nixon, but nobody really knows what, I shouldn't say nobody, a lot of people don't really know what the whole story is or what it was about. They just know it's a Watergate scandal. So the Watergate scandal went down like this. Richard Nixon was running for re-election against a Democrat senator from South Dakota named George McGovern. Now, what's really strange about the whole thing is they really didn't need to do this. They were looking for information against the Democrats. Richard Nixon was a Republican. So some of the people working in his campaign decided they wanted to get a little edge, and they do some spying on the Democratic National Committee, which had their office in the Watergate Hotel. Now, the reason I say they didn't have to do this, McGovern at this point wasn't a Democratic candidate that was coming, but he wasn't there yet. He was the likely opponent for Richard Nixon, which at the time, he had a double-digit lead over him. There was probably no way McGovern was going to beat Nixon, but for some reason they did this. It went like this. G. Gordon Liddy was an American lawyer, FBI agent. Later on, he became an actor, like a talk show host for a while. But he was the chief operative for the whole Watergate operation. I call it an operation because it involved ex-CIA agents and ex-FBI agents. What they did was they got a bunch of ex-CIA agents who broke into the Democratic National Committee's headquarters. They broke in and they placed bugs on the phones and they left and everything was fine. They put an ex-FBI agent in the Howard Johnson across the way and he took notes and listened to calls all day long for 3 weeks until one of the bugs in one of the phones was malfunctioning and they told these guys to go back in and fix the bug that's malfunctioning. Like they did the first time around, they waited till all the staffers had left for the evening. Around 1 a.m., they went into the office and started fixing their bug. Well, they had taped one of the doors downstairs so they could get out in a hurry. You know, it was like a security door that they picked the lock. In case they wanted to leave early, they just taped it so it wouldn't lock. Well, a security guard saw this and called the police. Now, they're up there working away at this, and 3 off-duty police officers in their own personal vehicle get the call that something's going on there, and they decide to go check it out. Now, the guy at the Howard Johnson across the street is an ex-FBI agent. He's watching the front and supposed to warn them if the police show up. Well, these guys show up in a civilian car, and they're plain dressed. He thought they were businessmen. They went up to the Democratic National Committee office and found these guys in there and arrested them. This is about the time the whole Nixon campaign and presidency unraveled. People went to jail, Nixon resigned, more Americans lost faith in the political system. It was definitely a dark time here in America. Movies released on February 21st, 2003. Gods and Generals. This was a Ted Turner movie that was a prequel to his 1993 movie, Gettysburg. This was such a good movie. Like Gettysburg, it was long as hell. It was actually 3.5 hours long. Gettysburg was 4 hours long. I took my wife to see that when we were just dating at a theater. They actually had an intermission. If you ever get a chance and you got a whole lot of extra time, definitely watch those movies. And it's weird. They had all these actors come back for the second movie, Gods and Generals, from Gettysburg. Jeff Daniels and Thomas C. Howell were 2 of the bigger ones. But there was a whole bunch of, B-list people that came back for both of them. Good movies, though. Born on February 21st, 1946, Alan Rickman. I should say the late, great Alan Rickman. He played Snape on the Harry Potter movies, Hans Gruber in Die Hard films. He earned Tony Awards. He was great in Love Actually, too. That was a great movie. If you ever get a chance to see that one. Sadly, he died in 2016. In August of 2015, he had a small stroke, and they, took him to the hospital, and while they were doing all the tests on him, they found out he had pancreatic cancer. He died January 14th, 2016. Nobody knew, just his family and really close friends knew that he was even sick. Died on February 21st, 2019, we lost Peter Tork. If you don't know who Peter Tork is, he was a singer, musician, and actor best known for the keyboardist and bass guitarist in the 1960s pop band The Monkees. He was the blonde guy. They say he had this incredible talent to learn new musical instruments, and he gained a pretty good reputation as a banjo player, so much so that he played on some of George Harrison's albums. In 2009, Peter Tork reported on his website that he had been diagnosed with cancer, a rare form. Anyway, he had this and he went through all the therapy, he had some surgery, some radiation therapy, and life went on. And in 2018, the cancer returned. On February 21st, 2019, a decade after his diagnosis, he died at his home in Mansfield, Connecticut. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, be nice to each other.